You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're well this morning and I'm wishing you all the best with your plans vandag. What did you think of the head of the NPA, Shamila Batohi's testimony yesterday at the ad hoc committee? She was asked tough questions about IDEC's investigation into the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, and whether the corruption charges against him are solid or they're meant to distract him from his work with the political killings task team, which had made headways, you'll remember, with investigations into criminal cartels in Gauteng, working with the provincial law enforcement agencies. And here's what Advocate Batohi said yesterday at that committee.
In that matter, as I explained, well, in all matters, particularly, well, let's deal with IDAC matters, because it relates to an IDAC matter. I get very, very high-level reports, and verbally, because of leakage of information, the ID gives me very high-level reports, verbally, generally. In this particular case, she informed me about the impending arrest of the head of crime intelligence. I said to her, Andrea, are you sure this is a watertight case? Because arresting the head of crime intelligence is not something one takes lightly. There must be a watertight case, and she explained to me that it was part of a much bigger case strategy.
So, it's part of a bigger plan. Huh? Do you think she was impressive yesterday, Shamila Batohi? I'm not so sure. I mean, she's about to leave the NPA, and I honestly don't think that the NPA under her leadership has done a great of a job, especially when it comes to high-profile cases. And we need more of those because we live in a country where we are equal before the law. What do you think of her testimony? And then at the Madlanga Commission, we heard more details of how the acting head of the Ekurhuleni Police Department, Julius Mkhwanazi, was a law unto himself. The former Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Rivo, is it Spies or Spears? He told the commission about rogue police officers under the special services headed by Julius Mkhwanazi.
When we returned from the November 2021 meeting at Ekurhuleni, Chief Mappier initiated an immediate interdepartment process where he issued what we call a directive, a standard operating procedure, which is in terms of our policies, he issues a directive to all the staff and the deputy chiefs, which we must then immediately comply with. This directive was that everyone's fingerprints must be taken. It must be submitted to his staff officer, Colonel Ivan du Plessis, who will then make arrangements, and Commissioner Mappier is then also, because the Provincial Police Commissioner was known about this, it was arranged with the Provincial Police Commissioner that the whole of Ekurhuleni's fingerprints will be taken, Ekurhuleni Metro Police, and then this will be analyzed by South African Police Service and feedback will be provided to us.
Was this to be done for the first time, or is it something that had been done within the EMPD before?
In EMPD, it was done, but very haphazardly and randomly. It wasn't done on a regular basis at all. It was initially when we became members, when we were established, which is like 22 years ago. It was done initially, but thereafter it was only done when you recruit people. The recruits' fingerprints will be taken. But officers in the force would stay without having their fingerprints being taken. It's only when you do promotions. During a promotion process, the shortlisted candidates, their fingerprints will be taken, and so that you can look at the promotions. But it wasn't a regular exercise done.
I am aware that in your statement you mentioned that Brigadier Mkhwanazi refused to be subjected to this. But before that, Had he ever been subjected to this process?
Not at all. It would have been only during his original appointment as a recruit. That was the only time that it would have been done.
So he was refusing, we're told, to be subjected to just getting his fingerprints. And now, because of all the allegations that have come against this guy, the Ekurhuleni Metro has now suspended him, Julius Mkhwanazi, following these damning allegations of unlawful conduct. But this is the same city that protected this man for so long. I mean, remember when it was revealed back in 2023, it was revealed that he dished out blue lights to Ket Matlala. And Ket Matlala's wife was posting on Instagram showing how she's being protected and driven around in blue lights vehicles, or vehicles fitted with blue lights. When it was revealed that he also entered into questionable deals on behalf of the city, he actually returned to work after his investigation was abandoned for no apparent reason. In fact, the investigation at some point found that he was grossly dishonest. It found that he abused his power. This is in 2023. And yet, he was still allowed to return to work. And at the time I interviewed Zweli Dlamini, who was speaking on behalf of the city, and he defended that decision. It was so wild. I should maybe play you that clip of that interview from 3 years ago. You will not believe it. And I think the city must be held accountable for having protected this man for so long. And I suspect he was protected because if he does go down, other people in the city are going to go down too, probably including politicians. And I wonder how many other state employees have left their posts, or any worker, in fact, have left their companies, the government departments, because they just couldn't continue being part of a rotten system. And when they tried to change things, they were the enemy. Because this Rivo Spies guy, he had to take early retirement because the rot in the system was just unbelievable. Is that a decision that you have had to take to leave your work because of the rot, because you were targeted when you raised issues? Let me know. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Clemmy, more man. Floris here from the beautiful Western Cape. Clemmy, what worries me is why did it take the whole afternoon for Shamila Batohi to state reasons why she cannot give a name because of this person not even knowing that he's been investigated? Why could she not told the members of the ad hoc committee that reason? Why did she have to wait until 7 o'clock? Something is fishy here with Shamila Batohi as well. You can see the expressions on her face, especially when what's that lady of X and SA told her, showed her actually evidence. Man, that was brutal. That was brutal. Well done on that lady from X and SA. I just cannot get to her name now. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Oh, Clement, this is Silver. You know what, Clement, this is an ultra rogue element. This Julius Mkhwanazi, and how did it take so long for Ekurhuleni Metro to suspend this guy? Only yesterday. You know, the evidence has been overwhelming at Madlanga Commission, even at the ad hoc commission about this guy. No, it's not on.
Headlines. When we come back, we're going to go straight to your calls on 011-883-0702. Take your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702 as we continue with the 702 open line. I've asked you about Shamila Batohi, Advocate Batohi, the outgoing head of the NPA. Were you impressed with her testimony yesterday? And how do we hold the city of Ekurhuleni accountable? They have been defending this Julius Mkhwanazi guy who's linked to Ket Matlala for so long. Now they've just taken action. They've suspended him. But they have come even on this show to defend him. The very first time that they had suspended him and there was an investigation that found that in fact he was grossly dishonest and he had abused his power when it came to the issue of dishing out those blue lights to Ket Matlala. They defended him so much. I want to play you that clip after the headlines as well so you can hear how the city of Ekurhuleni was complicit The guy has stayed on the job because he received a lot of protection, and I suspect the reason they've been protecting him is because they know if he goes down, he's going to go down with some powerful people in the city. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
The team, this Madlanga Commission has actually dampened my spirit and the trust in terms of our security and the judicial trust of the country as a whole. I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but with the revelations coming up and people covering each other, we are really on our own as a country. We are weak. We are nowhere. Even the intelligence. Andile in breaking downs. Thank you.
Andile, it's really just so sad. And that's why I'm also asking. I think we've lost some really good people who were part of the system, who were part of law enforcement, who were witnessing the rot. And some of them were brave enough to try and fight and try and fix the rot. And they were regarded as the enemy. And that's why I'm asking, if you're listening to us right now, maybe you used to be a state employee, maybe you were in law enforcement, maybe you're an investigator, maybe you didn't work for government, but your company you worked for, you witnessed that there was a rot, there was corruption, and you ended up leaving because you just didn't want to be part of it. I want you to share your stories with us. Anonymous on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, I'm a forensic investigator. I used to work in one department in government. And there was a one tip of anonymous investigation that was leading us to a senior staff member who was close to a certain former premier. Once the premier heard that, he somehow closed our small forensic unit and stated that it was for our own safety. Politicians interfere so much in operational matters. I had to resign as our reports were just being shelved. So, you see, there are people who have tried their best, people who have been in the system, who have now had to leave. Because when they were trying to confront the corruption, they were regarded as the enemy.
Good morning, Clement. With regards to Shamila Batohi, she's been pathetic. And let's be honest, I think everyone would agree that if Glenys Breitenbach was head of the NPA, we'd be in a very different position now. I think she would have weeded out the chaff and she would have turned that institution into something that we're proud of and something that operates properly. But under Shamila Batohi, it's been rubbish. Nothing's happened. We're waiting for the people that have been implicated in the Zondo Commission to be charged and sentenced, but nothing has happened. If Glenys Breitenbach was there, I guarantee you it would have been a completely different story to tell.
Really? How exactly do you think she would do that? How do you think Glenys Breitenbach would be the silver bullet that somehow re-energizes and fixes things at the NPA? We need to be very careful here of thinking that one person somehow has, the sweet solution to all the challenges an institution faces. Because some of the challenges are systematic. And I want to remind you of how confident a lot of you were in Advocate Shamila Batohi. One, you were confident with the system through which she ended up being the NPA head, because for the very first time ever, President Cyril Ramaphosa said, I want an independent committee of sorts, people who are going to do interviews. I don't want to be too involved in that process. They can recommend someone to us. When she started, there was a lot of confidence in her. You thought she was the silver bullet. Now you're disappointed, and sure, you could argue, rightly so. But what exactly do you think Glenys Breitenbach will be able to do that will be a silver bullet to the challenges that the NPA faces? Shamila Batohi is going to go out. There's a new NPA head who's going to come in. Let's see how far she's going to be willing to push in as far as ensuring there are prosecutions, and not just at a lower level, even high-profile prosecutions. Because I personally, as a South African, would love to see that too. On top of the work, most of which is actually good, that the NPA does with normal crimes, how about we see some high-profile people in orange overalls Because there seems to be overwhelming evidence, especially when you look at what the SIU presents. Overwhelming evidence of corruption. Malibongwe, you're calling us from Midrand. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure.
Yes, I wanted to comment on Shamila Batohi, confirming that we are now back to the Scorpions. Because Kusela Diko asked there was a difference between the Scorpions and IDEC. She said it's the same thing. They are using the more institution-led investigations, which is what caused the Scorpions to be successful. And now IDEC is going to implement the same strategy after having realized that separating these two doesn't work, as we have seen now with Shamila Batohi's dismal track record. Dismal, because they had separated these functions. Now she confirmed it. We are back at the Scorpions. I want to say shame on the NEC of the ANC that disbanded. Shame on Matthew Poza and Zuma and Tony Yengeni and everyone that was sitting in that NEC who disbanded the Scorpions. Shame on you. We are back to the Scorpions now.
Well, Malibongwe in Midrand, thank you so much for your call. Bongiwe, you are in Rosebank. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Hi. Oh, Clement, you know, for me, we need to address the elephant in the room here. You know, affirmative action was necessary and is still necessary in certain aspects of redressing the imbalance. But I'm sorry, Clement, it is also affirmative action that is getting us, especially in your government departments, where people are given roles and responsibilities that they're not qualified. You're pushing out people who are qualified based on color, just because you want to redress. But I just think, I mean, when you listen, I mean, when I was sitting there yesterday watching Spieth talk about the commissioner and putting the insignia wrong, I started asking myself, how are these people promoted? What criteria is used to promote people within these departments? Because you also see it with ministers sometimes, Minister of Environmental Affairs. I mean, it is just embarrassing. I just think for me, we've got to, you know, you're losing a lot of qualified people, and what's going to happen is we're still going to be promoting unqualified people because the qualified people don't want to be there.
Yeah, and
that is the cycle that you're going to deal with. The unqualified people are the ones that are still going to occupy those positions because the qualified people are going to be pushed out and and then it's the cycle that just. Can we just address this issue? I'm sorry.
Who are the people in charge, Bongiwe? Because affirmative action will always be there. The problem is who are the people implementing it. So affirmative action is also prone to exploitation, the same way that religion, anything else. So the problem is not so much affirmative action. The problem is the people implementing it, because there are people who are using it to put in the people that don't qualify. Because there's no way in affirmative action that says put in any person because they're a woman, put in any person because they're black. It's the people in charge who use it, exploit it, and then say we're going to put in this person because this person is going to protect us. This person is going to serve our interests. That's where we need to focus on. Bongiwe, thank you so much for that call. It's 17 minutes before 10 o'clock. After the break, I want to play you an interview I did with someone who spoke on behalf of the Ekurhuleni government, who was defending Julius Mkhwanazi. And what I'm asking is, how do we hold the city of Ekurhuleni accountable? They can't pretend now to be a city that somehow cares about accountability just because there are revelations coming out of the Madlaga Commission. They failed to act against this man, even when there was a report that says this man grossly was dishonest, that said this man abused his power. They defended him. Now they've just suspended him. What, we must praise them because, they take accountability seriously? Please.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
15 minutes before 10 o'clock. So here's a conversation that I had with Zweli Dlamini, who at the time was speaking on behalf of the city. And just to give you some context, on that day, this is in 2023, the Sowetan had reported that Julius Mkhwanazi, who was suspended for allegedly issuing out those blue lights to Ket Matlala, and entered into questionable deals on behalf of the city, had actually returned to work after his investigation was somehow abandoned for no apparent reason. And Julius Mkhwanazi was holding the position of Director of Specialized Services at the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, right? So he had been suspended in February of 2023, accused of writing a memorandum using council letterheads, giving instructions for the private security company owned by Vusmuzi, Clement, to use blue lights from the city. So the city then found out. Matlala's partner, in fact, the reason they found out, Matlala's partner posted a video on Instagram bragging about using blue lights, right? And zigzagging traffic to fetch her children from school. The same vehicles which were registered in the municipality's name were seen on videos she posted, taking her even to the airport. So this is someone who was boastful, showing her followers the luxurious life that she lived. So in essence, this Metro Corp, Julius Mkhwanazi, basically allowed and facilitated the use of blue lights by civilians. That was the accusation when he was suspended. So I spoke to Zweli Dlamini. At the time, he was speaking on behalf of the city. Listen to how he defended that. What charges Julius Mkhwanazi was facing? Why was he suspended earlier this year?
Look, there were allegations that were leveled against Mr. Mkhwanazi with regards to issue of blue lights and so on. So what happened is there was an investigation that was carried out by the Metro Police Department, which then submitted a report to HR. We are now in the process of investigating. After studying the report, it was then concluded that further investigations need to be undertaken before we can actually proceed with any disciplinary hearing. So right now, that's where we are.
Okay, so on what basis then has he returned to work?
He was suspended for 90 days as per the Labor Relations Act, and to allow us to do further investigations at that particular time. That was the initial investigation that was being done, carried out, so that there is no interference on his part in terms of what must be done or what is being investigated or not, and so on.
But you're not done with the investigation, right?
No, after the 90 days, he came back to work. The investigation had been concluded, the initial one, and now there was then a need, Clement, to then say, look, we have studied this report. There are certain areas that still need to be investigated further. Therefore, we are going to be investigating further. But the first investigation, the initial investigation was done, concluded, and submitted to HR, and further investigations going on.
Okay, so are you going to suspend him again? Because initially when you suspended him, you said we don't want you to interfere, go away. Now there's further investigations that are being done. So is he going to be suspended again?
Chances are, as soon as we've concluded with the investigations that we are doing now, and he's being charged, obviously cannot be at work when he's being charged and undergoing a disciplinary process. So definitely chances are it's going to be suspended when he's charged, as and when he's charged.
Okay, hold on. I'm a little confused here. The report that the Metro Corps or the Metro Police had presented, right, with the charges. There was an investigation that you say was done and was completed in 90 days. What was the outcome of that investigation?
There were certain recommendations that were made there. Issues of dishonesty in terms of discharging duty. There is also the issue of abuse of power in terms of his rank and so on. So basically those came up. So the probe found that he must be charged for the abuse of power and dishonesty, right? Yes.
So how is he allowed to come back to work?
No, the issue is, that's why I'm trying to clarify, Clement, to say we studied the report. Our legal team studied the report, and it was determined that we need to do further investigation. So basically that cannot be concluded as fact. The initial report was studied, and then we said, no, we need to do further investigation before we can actually charge the man. He's not found guilty of anything. Remember, he must be presumed innocent until found guilty of any crime.
But if the very basis of his suspension in the beginning was so that you can carry out investigations and it doesn't interfere, why is he at work now when you are continuing with investigations?
In terms of the law, he's suspended for 90 days. He must come back if you have not charged him within that 90 days. And that is basically what we are doing. We're sticking by the rule of the law here. And by the way, further investigations does not mean necessarily that he will interfere with anything now. We are saying we just need to do a thorough investigation before we charge him. Because if we're going to charge somebody, you must make sure that the charges stick. And that's basically what we are doing.
No, come on. Zweli, this sounds to me like this man is being shielded from accountability. His conduct, as per your initial report, says this man's conduct may have amounted to the abuse of his position of authority and gross dishonesty, abuse of resources of the city to benefit his associates. You are saying you suspended him initially because you wanted to do investigations. You didn't want him to interfere. And yet, even when that report, the outcomes are telling you that this man has a case to answer and you must investigate further, you're still comfortable with him being at work. That doesn't make sense to me.
Clement, unfortunately, we just have to differ, unfortunately. We are saying we are not shielding him from anything. That must be clear. There is no way that the municipality can shield anyone who is actually facing serious allegations against them. The disciplinary process of the city is still underway. Investigations are being carried out. It does not mean that he is not going to be disciplined whatsoever. We are saying, allow us time, let's do a thorough investigation. He will definitely face the music if there is a need to face the music. So there is nothing that we are shielding Mr. Mkhwanazi from here.
What do you mean the disciplinary hearing is underway? Because there was one that was supposed to start in July, right? Did that take place?
I'm saying the disciplinary process is underway. I'm not saying the hearing. It's a process that is underway.
The investigation is underway, not the disciplinary process.
The disciplinary process, they actually going together.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. You investigate, there's an outcome, you discipline. So which is which? What's underway now?
Right now, we are doing a further investigations. And it does not mean that the disciplinary process, in fact, let me correct myself here. It does not mean that the disciplinary process will not get underway. We are just doing further investigations. When concluded, the disciplinary process then gets underway.
So, so this man, what's the plan? So the further investigation that you're doing, you don't think he's going to be the risk and may interfere in this further investigation, even though you thought he may interfere in the initial investigation. So with this further investigation, you're comfortable with him continuing at work?
Yeah, we are comfortable because all the areas that he could have, or maybe we suspected he could have interfered with, have been covered. The extra investigation we are doing, there is no way he can actually have access to that. Unfortunately, I cannot divulge exactly what we're talking about.
I'm not a labor law expert here, but I'm struggling to understand how you can investigate someone when they're still currently on the job.
Clement, the report has been studied. Certain aspects of the report are being investigated further. And the legal team have actually made it clear that they can actually do that even if it's at work, there is no risk involved.
Zweli, thank you, man, for making time. South Africa is alive with possibilities, I tell you. Someone allows and facilitates the use of blue lights vehicles to a private citizen. There's an investigation that the Metro Police does, which finds that this person must be charged with the abuse of power and dishonesty because he abused the resources of the city to benefit his associates. But the Metro Police Department says, no, he can come back to work, it's okay. They suspended him early this year, saying, well, we don't want him to interfere in the investigation. But even when that investigation finds this, they're like, no, come back. It's okay, bro. Oh, and now there's no risk anymore. I get it in the beginning. They said he may interfere with witnesses. Now there's no risk anymore. He can still come back to work, continue with everything while we further investigate. And what are you further investigating?
when your initial report has already indicated to you this man must be charged with abuse of power and dishonesty? What more evidence do you want? This country.
That was back in 2023, guys. Julius Mkhwanazi has been defended by the city of Ekurhuleni. They don't want to come speak to us now because I wanted to ask them, why are you taking action against this guy now? Like you pretend like you care about accountability. Shame on the city of Ekurhuleni for having protected the man who was busy protecting criminals.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
3 minutes before 10.
Hi, Clement. This is nonsense. This is really nonsense, to tell you the truth. Other people like us were incarcerated, and we never went back to work when we came back. Even after the appeal and they found that I never did anything, they used my card for fraud and I got incarcerated for that because I'm the one that's responsible of my card. But anyway, besides all of that, I never went back to work. Why is it people like Abu Mkhwanazi and others, they are able to go back to work while the other government employees like us are sitting at home and trying to mend and try to find a job? I can't even find a job. Now I must try to sort my life out just because of one mistake, which I've never even done a crime before. But now because of this, but people like Mkhwanazi goes back. It's nonsense.
Clement, let's be. I deal a lot with disciplinary cases. We suspend people only when we feel they will tamper with the investigation. But if what we are investigating cannot even be altered, it's system records that can be changed or things like that, then there's no need to suspend the person. But where you feel this person will tamper with the investigation itself, with witnesses and whatnot, then you suspend. So it's not automatic that people have to be suspended because they're being investigated. In many cases, we investigate a person for 12 months without them even knowing that we're investigating them.
The difference here is Ekurhuleni said, when they suspended him for the first time, they said, hey, we're worried that this person is going to interfere with witnesses. And then the report comes after that investigation. The report says, hey, this person actually lied, grossly dishonest, abused his power to benefit his friends. So we have to do further investigations. And then what? Suddenly now he's not going to interfere because the witnesses are still the same people. It doesn't make sense. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Let me just wrap up the previous hour, the 702 open line, with just a few WhatsApp voice notes, even if it's just two, because there are some that came through, and of course we had interviews. I played you an interview, so I didn't have enough time to play your WhatsApp voice notes. But this just is in response to the conversation I played for you that I had with Zweli Dlamini, who was speaking at the time on behalf of the city of Ekurhuleni. And the issue really of contention was that already back in 2023, they had found that this Julius Mkhwanazi guy had grossly been dishonest. They had found that he had abused resources of the city to benefit his associates. This is when he installed those blue lights for Ket Matlala. So he was suspended because they said, okay, we need to do investigations. We are worried that you're going to interfere with witnesses. And then they suspended him. And then when the first report was issued, it found that this person has actually hasn't been telling the truth. And he did indeed abuse his resources to benefit his friends when he issued out those blue lights to Ket Matlala. And yet, for some reason, they still allowed him to come back to work, even though they were still investigating further. So when did the worry that he may interfere with witnesses disappear? Because the very same witnesses they were worried he may interfere with when they suspended him are the same witnesses as they continue to investigate further. The charges have not changed. And the point I was trying to demonstrate to you by playing that interview is The city of Ekurhuleni has consistently defended this man. So when they're acting now and they pretend like they are serious about accountability, just know the context. Know that there has been pressure put on the city of Ekurhuleni to act against this chap, and they failed to do it. In fact, they defended him, even when it didn't make sense. How can a report come back and say this person grossly has been dishonest? This person has indeed abused his power, and yet you still somehow allow him to go back to work, even though you said the very, very same charges he's facing, you're worried that he may interfere with witnesses. That's why you told him to stay at home. And as I've said, I suspect the reason they've been protecting him so much is because if he goes down and he starts talking, there are more people that may go down with him.
Clement, this is completely unacceptable. What Mkhwanazi is being accused of, these are complete dismissible offenses. I mean, going back and forth, up and down and all of that, at states' resources, taxpayers' monies and all of that. They must just dismiss this guy. I don't understand why they even brought him back. So this is truly, truly unacceptable. And it just completely shows that, the HR policies are being ignored and they're not being followed. But anyway, what do you expect?
That man is totally talking nonsense. We know there are two processes here. There's a disciplinary hearing at work where you can be found guilty and be fired at work. And there's also a criminal investigation. So at work, they have found that he has that misconduct. Why isn't he being dismissed or fired? And then still, that process doesn't stop the criminal investigation. There must also be criminal investigation. Whether in criminal investigation he's been found guilty or not, it has got nothing to do with the conduct that he has done at work. He can be found not guilty criminally but still be dismissed at work. That man is talking total something that it's out of order. Also from Naledi.
But that's how these people underestimate and take you for granted. Because you've put them in office. So they don't give a heck. They don't give a heck about you anymore until they need your vote again. And when they're in office, they don't care that the decisions they take are viable, they work for you or not. That's what's disappointing here. Even in the face of evidence, as a city, you have instituted an investigation. The investigation comes back and says to you, this person has not told the truth. This person has abused power. But because you're protecting that person, he's got political protection, you still allow him to come back to work. That was back in 2023. We've asked the city to come join us for a conversation this morning. They refused. Of course they will refuse. Because how are they going to explain the fact that even when there are reports that were telling them that this man has abused his power, they still kept him on the job? And you know what I hope for? I hope this guy is going to get some conscience and start speaking out. The same way that Clement Manythela is possibly going to start speaking out when they go to Kgoshi Mampuru to hear from him, the ad hoc committee. I hope this man can find his conscience. I mean, he has lied. He was on ENCA like recently, a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, no, I don't know this man. Talking about Clement Manythela. He's lied. And yet there are WhatsApp messages that show of how they've even called each other brother. And that's a man the city has been protecting for years. Now, how do we hold the city accountable? It's 14 minutes after 10 o'clock.